You're listening to Orlando Credit Union's On the Money. I'm your host, Kaylee Green, and today we're doing a special segment that I like to call Meet the Community Leaders. So today we're talking to the Assistant Director of Communications for the City of Winter Park, Craig O'Neill. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Kaylee. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you're here. How are you?
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me here to talk about something I love. Exactly.
I am so glad you're here because of that, and also because it's something that I think so many people locally do love. I was just telling you before we started recording that, Winter Park is a city that I even have all of these great memories of visiting and seeing all the local stores. So I'm really excited to talk about this a little bit more with you today.
Great.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of what you do for the city of Winter Park, some listeners might not be local to Central Florida. And if that is the case, can you summarize Winter Park as a city?
Sure. Winter Park is a small city of 30,000 residents, and we are just several miles northeast of downtown Orlando, and we are known as the city of arts and culture. It's a charming place.
I would absolutely agree with that. There are so many unique places and finds that you see when you're, whether you're driving through and you see places that you might not have necessarily seen before, or you're maybe walking down the street and you stop into a cool local store. So there's really a lot of ground that we want to cover when we talk about it today. But talk to me more about your role working for the city.
Okay, I have been with the city of Winter Park for 20 years. I'm the Assistant Director of Communications, and we are responsible for informing the residents, our guests, the media, and the city staff of all the events and initiatives happening within the city, including all of our arts and culture amenities.
Yeah, and that is such an important role, too, because there is so much happening, and you really want to be able to get the word out and let people know, because there's just so much that you don't want to miss out on. So, of course, you have this role currently. 20 years is, of course, a really extensive time, and I'm sure you've learned so much and grown so much within that time frame. But before this role, I want to talk about your background there. What did you do prior to this role, and explain your background?
Sure. Well, I was raised in Massachusetts and New York, so these hot summers are getting a little bit difficult for me to bear.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but my dream is to have a place in the Northeast in retirement years, and a place in Florida for the winter. So
snowbird.
Yeah, a snowbird. But I went to school at Miami of Ohio, Miami University in Oxford, Ohio.
Okay.
I graduated with a degree in management, organizational behavior. And then my brother and I opened a store in Topeka, Kansas. We sold baked potatoes with toppings. We were the entrepreneurs of the family. And after a few years, we decided to get real and start a career that would sustain us. So I moved to Orlando, and I worked for the city of Orlando for 13 years at the event venues. The Citrus Bowl, the Bob Carr Performing Arts Center, and the Orlando Arena, which is now known as the Kia Center.
Okay.
So I was there for 13 years in event management and marketing.
That's a really, I feel like, unique role, and it opened you up to a lot of different experiences that maybe you didn't expect when you were selling baked potatoes.
Right, exactly.
So what experiences from this past role would you say helped you prepare you for your current role?
Good question. Most importantly, I would say, is event management. When you're in communications, as I am at the City of Winter Park, there's always events to organize and plan. And if you're not planning it, you're part of it. So I would say event management was the biggest things I've learned in my career. And also, time management, really having several projects in the air at once, meeting a lot of deadlines. In communications, we're constantly meeting deadlines and having to get the most accurate information out in the most timely manner. And then, of course, things like hurricanes can kind of throw a wrench in the projects and put us off track. So we have to always be ready to pivot.
Yeah. And it really sounds like you have had a role both then and now that was a real integral part of the community and making things happen locally. Did you always have a dream that you would do something like this, or was this kind of out in left field for you?
This was a little bit in left field. It's why I always tell my, my nieces and people I try to teach about careers is that you have to be ready to change when the opportunity is there and arises itself. But I always wanted to be in entertainment management, which is really why I went to the City of Orlando entertainment venues. And I didn't realize, but I was working for the city of Orlando. I was really just interested in working for the entertainment management, but the city of Orlando owns all the venues, so I ended up being a city of Orlando employee, which kind of led me into working for city management for so many years. And then when I went to Winter Park, I've been there for 20 years now, and the city of Winter Park was the best move I've ever made because I love the city and I love working there.
So it sounds like you almost started saying, I want to work in entertainment, and then that love shifted once you realized that there are so many things within the community that are impactful.
Exactly. It's very gratifying to work for city government, to make sure that we're always informing the residents and answering their questions and their dealing with their issues that they have, that they call to our attention. We want to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So with a background working at the City of Orlando's entertainment complex, you understand how big of a draw that there is to downtown Orlando. So what I think a lot of people probably notice is that this can sometimes overshadow those communities like Winter Park that have so much to offer. So explain what some unique aspects are to the City of Winter Park that people might not know about.
Sure. I love Orlando. I live in Orlando, but I work in Winter Park, and I like to be able to leave Winter Park and go to Orlando to where, I'm not at the work site. But Winter Park is a special city. It's charming. There's so much to offer. We have beautiful brick streets, tree-lined streets, a tree canopy. We have a pristine chain of lakes. And if you haven't been on the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour, I highly recommend you go on that. You can see all the homes and the canals and the lakes. They're gorgeous. And then we have a really strong arts and culture community. And our department manages the Public Art Advisory Board as well as the Arts and Culture Alliance. So we have 22 organizations, world-class arts organizations that are in the Arts and Culture Alliance.
Wow.
And we're very fortunate to have that many high-quality organizations in just 10 square miles. So Winter Park is really known as the City of Arts and Culture. We also are committed to our history. We have the Winter Park History Museum and the Hannibal Square Heritage Center, in addition to the other museums like the Rollins Museum of Art and the Morse Museum, the Charles Hosmer Morse Museum of American Art, which has the largest Tiffany glass collection in the world.
No way.
So Winter Park is very blessed with arts and culture. And there's just so much to offer. The residents love it. That's why they live there. And they're very involved with the city government and helping us make our decisions. And I feel very fortunate also to work for city management, which really empowers the staff to achieve their goals. And in our department, of course, our goal is to get the most timely information out, or the most accurate information out in the most timely manner.
Yeah. And that reminds me, I am from Sarasota. That's where I live. And it's that same situation where, we are really immersed in that arts and culture. So I have so much appreciation for cities that are similar to that because especially when you live there, you realize how much there really is. Sometimes, maybe you're visiting coming into Orlando. So being able to then, move outside of Orlando and see all of the arts, the culture. And I mean, you mentioned, the beautiful streets and the trees. There's so much visual appeal to Winter Park as well.
Absolutely. We have so many beautiful parks as well.
Yeah.
Our Parks and Recreation Department manages the parks, and they take excellent care. They're gorgeous parks. So there's a little bit for everyone. We have great businesses, a great shopping and dining, boutique stores, and very interesting and eclectic restaurant scene. So these are just things you really can't find in other cities.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've touched on it a little bit, but I want to ask you directly, what made you want to make the switch from Orlando to Winter Park? You mentioned that you, of course, love both, but there are, I feel like, very distinct differences between the two.
Absolutely. I had worked at the city of Orlando for 13 years in the event management business, and there are a lot of hours involved with that job, a lot of nights and a lot of weekends.
Yeah, I bet.
So I was kind of at the point in my life where I was ready for a change, but when the position became open and the opportunity presented itself, I was really, thinking, is this the right thing to do? But I'm so glad I did, because it's the best decision I've made in my career.
That is so inspiring to hear, that you were able to say, how do I want to make this change? You made that change and now you are so gratified and fulfilled in the role that you're currently doing. Now, that leads me into my next question, which is what now makes you passionate about working for the city of Winter Park?
Oh my gosh. Well,
So
I would
much.
say, aside from working in a beautiful city and getting to walk out the door and experience the charm of Winter Park, it would be my team in communications. We've worked together for many years. Mm-hmm. We're a well-oiled machine. We're all kind of type A, get it done people. So we do a good job. We know the job that's before us, and we do it well, and we respect each other in that process. And aside from the great team that I have, like I said earlier, I really admire the city management who empowers the department heads and their teams to do what they need to do to get their goals met.
I feel like that's a really great reason to want to get up and go to work every day. I mean, having a great team is so important because that's how I think you see success.
Yes.
So knowing that you are working alongside people who you respect and you feel are, helping achieve those things within the community and within the city of Winter Park is such a bonus.
Well, most definitely. And I'm very proud of the work we've done with the Public Art Advisory Board. We have, for the first time ever, now we have a dedicated public art funding source. And for the first time ever, we have an online public art collection, which will be launched actually at the end of this week. So we've been working hard from the Public Art Advisory Board aspect and also the Arts and Culture Alliance. Mm-hmm. We have a fantastic event coming up in February with our new senior advisor to arts and culture who is spearheading this event. It's called Arts Weekend, and it's going to have, involvement with all 22 arts and culture organizations. We're really going to show off the arts and culture scene in Winter Park over the 4 days in February.
That's really cool. And I mean, with the extent that you guys have of arts and culture, it's so important to make sure you are consistently showing that off. So again, I feel like that goes back to is a testament to your team and making sure that you're getting that stuff done, putting your brains together, brainstorming, coming up with these events and making them happen. So It's such a cool thing to see and to see it come to fruition.
It is. It's fun working with all the city departments and pulling all these events together. We're responsible for many of the high profile events, such as the State of the City address, a lot of groundbreakings and dedications, things like that, the Veterans Day event. Yeah. So there's always an event on the horizon for us to plan.
And you are leading me perfectly into my next question, which is what events does Winter Park have in store for the holiday season?
Oh my gosh, we have a great holiday season, and I'll try to explain some of them if I can remember all the dates and times. But for anyone who wants to check it out, there is a button on the homepage of the city website for holiday events. You just click on that button, it brings up the entire events calendar. It really has already kind of kicked off. The Park Avenue District took on the lighting initiative this year with funding assistance from the City of Winter Park. And the lights are on Park Avenue in the downtown business district. That. Yes, and through Hannibal Square. They're also going to have a special lighting in Hannibal Square, which is on the calendar. I don't remember the date of that, but it's coming up in the next couple weeks. And then in Central Park, the holiday events kick off with the Thursday night Christmas in the Park, presented by the Charles Hosmer Morse Museum of American Art, which is a beautiful event. They light the Tiffany stained glass windows in the park, and the Bach Festival plays for everyone. And then Friday is Winter on the Avenue, presented by the City of Winter Park and the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce, which is a wonderful event for families. And we have the tree lighting, we have popcorn flicks that night. And then Saturday morning is the Old Hometown Christmas Parade presented by the Winter Park Chamber of Commerce.
That's fun.
As well as the pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
And then Sunday is Holiday Pops with the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra in Central Park.
Wow.
And all the dates and times and information is on that button on the city's homepage at cityofwinterpark.org.
Okay, perfect. So it really sounds like there's so much to do in the community, especially if whether you're a resident of Winter Park or not. I mean,
absolutely.
It's such a cool and immersive place to be. I know that I try to make a stop whenever I am local and recording the podcast or in town. I always want to see what's happening in Winter Park.
Great.
There's so much going on.
Great. We'll have to get lunch next time you're in.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And then remind listeners one more time what website they need to go to find out more.
Yes, go to cityofwinterpark.org, and on the city website homepage at the very bottom is the way you can really stay in the loop with all of the social media links. Please like or follow us on all those platforms, as well as the city news, the e-newsletter, which we mail. You can sign up for one of 12 categories. I think there's about a dozen categories, or you can sign up for all of them, receive the press releases and all the information that we distribute from our department. So there's a wealth of information there on the city website, cityofwinterpark.org.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Craig. It's been a pleasure talking to you and getting to know a little bit more about your role as a community leader and also Winter Park as a city.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays.
Yes. And you can learn more about how Orlando Credit Union is partnering with organizations like this one by following us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Orlando CU for you, or visit us on our website at orlandocreditunion.org. Until next time, we are investing in you. Orlando Credit Union is providing this podcast as a public service. The information provided is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of Orlando Credit Union policy. Reference to any specific product does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by the credit union. Views and opinions expressed by Orlando Credit Union employees are those of the employees and do not necessarily reflect the views of the credit union or any of its officers. Orlando Credit Union is not providing any financial, economic, legal, accounting, or tax advice or recommendations in this podcast.